Um, and there's a cover album that you guys were working on a couple months ago.
An EP.
Yeah, okay.
And I think it's coming out. I heard it was coming out yesterday. I don't know. It's supposed to be out already,
Okay.
and
And it's going to be an iTunes
it's
thing?
an
Or?
as far as I understand, it's an iTunes only EP, and we will actually press some, so we'll have some for sale at shows. But it's, I think, 5 songs. 5 Years by David Bowie, Rocks Off by the Stones, For the Girl by the Fratellis, this
Okay.
fantastic British band, pretty recent. Um, uh, She's Got Everything by the Kinks, and Driver 8, the only American song on the whole bunch. Isn't that funny? We're like an alt country band from Texas, and 4 out of 5 songs, 80% of our covers EP is British. British.
It really kind of reflects the roots, like where you're really coming from, apparently, some subconscious
Yeah, yeah.
thing.
But it's funny because all those British people were inspired by American, roots music and rock and roll. So it's a loop. I mean, we live in a meta world. So,
Well, there's 4 guys in the band. How did you pick those?
well, we already had She's Got Everything. We recorded that a few years ago, and it had only been released as part of a Starbucks Valentine's Day sampler. So we really wanted that to be part of it. And it's funny, you listen to it and you can hear that was the first thing we ever did with Salim, and it's a little more. It sounds like it was recorded in the '60s. It's very true to that period, and everything we do now sounds like Blame It on Gravity or my new solo record, where it's like a big, awesome sound, because Salim has graduated into a better producer with a better studio, and we work together with him better than we ever did. So choosing the songs now, Driver 8, I had done an REM tribute concert at Carnegie Hall here,
Hmm.
so I had learned the song and really fallen in love with it all over again. So I talked the band into doing that. 5 Years, even though I'm a huge Bowie fan, and by far the biggest one in the group, Ken insisted that we do that because it was just stuck in his head. Like, he kept bringing it into sound check and saying, "Y'all, let's do 5 years." And so we whipped that one up. And the Fratellis was, everybody else in the band had gotten the memo on this band from England, the Fratellis, a few years ago, and I didn't know their record, and Ken insisted that I learn that song. And it's, God, oh my God, that song, I can't get it out of my head. It's so catchy, it drives me crazy. And Rocks Off was Ken's choice also. He's a big Stones fan.
Ken seemed to have a lot of influence on this.
Well, it's fun, It's like, well, Ken is an outspoken, ornery guy, so he gets his way a
He
lot.
made some good choices, apparently.
did.
So I can't wait to hear it. So also being here in New York, you did something kind of fun in New York a couple months ago, where you were on the season finale of 30 Rock.
Yeah, that was
pretty
amazing.
cool.
Yeah,
That was like a really fun episode to have, like a We Are the World kind of ending.
yeah.
Yeah, so like what was that like? Did you know those people before you were there?
I knew the head writer, Jack Burdett, who such a brilliant guy. Oh my God, it's funny, when I was there, I was asking the other writers, because he's so humble. Jack, the head writer, he would never really brag about any of this stuff. But some of my favorite moments on 30 Rock, I would like when Alec Baldwin becomes every member of Tracy Morgan's family and talks in their voices, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that was all Jack. He wrote that whole thing." I'm like, "Oh my God, he's smarter than I even knew." But I knew him from a few years ago. We'd met, just a couple of times, and I think somebody had been asking me about doing some TV type stuff, and I talked to him about it. And he had worked on a Dave Grohl pilot that never got fully made, but was probably very funny. The script that I read was super funny, and we just kind of stayed in touch over the years. And so I got an email from him saying, "We're doing a thing on 30 Rock where it's like a We Are the World spoof, and it would be you and Elvis Costello and Mary J. Blige and a handful of other people." And I'm like, my favorite show, and Elvis Costello. Okay, I think maybe I could make time for this.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really funny. Elvis Costello was really funny, and Sheryl Crow,
It's
and
very
yeah,
funny.
yeah. I mean, the song that they wrote. Who wrote the song? Do you?
It's Tina Fey's husband, John, who is the head of the music guy on 30 Rock, and a brilliant musician. The demo he recorded was, side-splittingly funny. So, yeah, it was so funny, though, wasn't it? I mean, that song was really great. And they even cut out some of the funniest lines. I mean, Wyclef Jean had some of the best lines, and for some reason he didn't make the cut. He actually had the best line off camera. It was a really horrible moment, really, in a way, because Wyclef was sitting there. It was groups of 3. We all learned our parts, me, Moby, and Rachel. and it was Wyclef, Michael McDonald, and Steve Earle were there, and they're being coached by the guy that wrote the song, Tina Fey's husband, and they're in front of this bleachers set up with Alec Baldwin and Elvis Costello sitting there, and all the writers of the show and all the stars of the show are all sitting there, so no pressure. And so they're getting coached through what they're going to sing, and it's just the audio recording that they're doing in this part. And so Wyclef's real quiet through the whole coaching, and they're about to record the take, and before they start, Wyclef goes, "You know what, y'all? I can't do this." And he throws his headphones down. He goes, "I got a cousin that needs a kidney. I can't do this." And he like stood up, and he actually, there's expletives in there as well that I'll leave out for your audience. And he stood up in this deathly silence. Tina Fey's jaw is on the floor, and he walks to the far end of the warehouse, and he turns around and he goes, "Oh, I'm just messing with y'all." And it was so great because I could see them going like, "Do we have to rewrite this? Or do we have to scrap this whole episode?" I mean, so
he punked the funny people.
He out-funnied all the funny people. Yes.
That's really funny.
That's great.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it was just like a really fun, hysterical time.
It was very fun.
Yeah, that's cool that you're able to do that. So, this year you've gotten on Twitter, and we've talked about some social media things before. Well, I'm glad that you did it, and you're such a natural with it. So I just, wanted to see how you felt about using Twitter, and if anything kind of interesting has happened to you since you started using it.
Oh, lots of interesting stuff. I mean, from saying, "Oh, we've got a day off in Chicago. Who has baseball tickets?" and getting offers of, I could have had 16 tickets to the Cubs game we went to.
Yeah, my friend actually had some tickets for you.
It was so
like,
sweet.
Oh, yeah.
And reconnecting with old, friends from the music industry, who I hadn't crossed paths with for years, and Rob Thomas, who's he's a great Twitterer. It's so funny. Although half the time he's writing, "Okay, I have to go work out. See you later." And but it's a funny compulsion now with me and Twitter. Like I gotta check it. I feel guilty if I don't, keep throwing them out there. Like, oh gosh, how long has it been? Like today, I had all these funny things when I was doing the CNN piece this morning, and I kept wanting to Twitter about it, but I couldn't because my phone wasn't on me, and those moments are lost forever.
Oh, yeah. That's the good thing about Twitter.
All the comics in the comics drive me. They're so funny. They're like, Paul F. Tompkins takes pictures of hilarious things every day and posts them on Twitter, and I really love it. There's a little element of OCD that drives me crazy. Like I want to always check it. I mean, and then I want to not check it because I can feel myself getting sort of sucked into it. But
yeah, I feel the same way, and then I just have to realize it's not email, so it's not like I have to read every single person that I'm following all the time. But you do want to see, like, did somebody reply back, or did anybody retweet what I just tweeted? Yeah, but I mean, I think it's pretty powerful for musicians to use. It may not like result in immediate like people coming to shows or CD sales, but I think it's like an interesting way to engage your audience.
And for me, it's good because I can kind of keep a pulse of what's the situation. Like, was there a gig? If there's a gig that seemed like it went weird, what was it that went weird? And I can kind of get feedback from people, or I can get requests for songs to play that night. I can learn about the audience that I'm about to be playing for. What has Ithaca got? That I need to know about before I do this show tonight. I had a fun. That was when I was first on Twitter, and one of my tweets I was most proud of was I said I was pulling into Ithaca, and I said, "Ithaca is gorgeous. Sadly, the gorges are hideous."
So I mean, you have to have like a sense of humor, and I think you work really well because you have a combination of humor and telling people what you're doing and promoting things, but on a very, very low level.
Yeah.
And so not everybody kind of gets that. But you picked up on the thing that everybody's talking about in regard to Twitter is that it's about real-time search. You can like gauge the pulse of what people are thinking about right now or shortly thereafter, and not have to kind of wait and collect that information in other ways. So
what's trending?
Yeah, trending, exactly. And it could be trending topics, or it could just be what you're searching for at that moment and kind of seeing what people are saying. Search for. Do you do that? Do you search your name and you search for Old 97 through the search.twitter.com?
I have not done that yet.
Okay,
I've got it set up to where. If it says at Rhett Miller, obviously that comes into me. But
what are you using on your phone? What app?
Twitterific Premium.
I'm gonna.
And there was a nightmare, like what do they call it? A Twitterific apocalypse last week when they reached some number, the Twitters reached sequentially numbered, and they reached some number that crashed all of their servers for like 3 days. And yeah, it was a nightmare, but...
Well, I haven't used the premium version of Twitterific, but I use Tweety now, and that lets you search. You can follow people while you're on it. And
Is that Jeff Tweedy's app?
No, no, I wish there was a Tweety app.